For the second year in a row, I'm pleased to be able to sign a balanced state budget on time and with no new taxes. I think hopefully we're developing a habit, and I think the Pennsylvania citizens will appreciate that habit of on time. This budget package earned bipartisan support here in the General Assembly, and I want to thank them for their hard work in getting this to me. I particularly want to thank the leaders and all the members, but particularly leaders, Senator Scarnati, Senator Pileggi, Representative Smith, and Representative Turzai, for their leadership and their commitment to the people of Pennsylvania. Our taxpayers deserve government that works for them, and tonight they delivered. In February, seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? I introduced what I like to refer to as a draft budget. We do our best to come up with a proposal based on the projections available to us at the time. It was not a budget that I really liked, but it was a responsible budget for the time. Times are still difficult. However, I'm pleased to be able to say that since then our revenues have improved, allowing us to increase funding to some important areas of our final budget. And today we reaffirm our commitment to job growth, to education, to the needy, and to the taxpayers making real progress is our foremost goal here in Pennsylvania. Our goal is growing new jobs. 2 weeks ago, many of you observed what I consider to be a historic event here in the Capitol. I was honored to stand on the media room stage with cabinet members and members of the legislature from both parties, along with business organizations such as the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Pennsylvania Business Council, NFIB, Pennsylvania Independent Oil and Gas Association, and the Pennsylvania Steel Alliance. They were joined by labor groups such as United Steelworkers, the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO, the Greater Pennsylvania Regional Council of Carpenters, the International Union of Operating Engineers, and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. All were here to rally their support behind our proposal to create a resource manufacturing tax credit. The reason was simple. The credit will create thousands of jobs. In fact, members of organized labor called it a job credit, and I have to agree with that. As someone who grew up in Pittsburgh, I saw firsthand the devastating effects of the decline of the steel industry. I saw what it did to the economy, what it did to the psyche of Western Pennsylvania, and to the families who had to move to other states to find work. I also saw what it did to the environment when industry disappeared and left behind abandoned mills and brownfields. This legislature understands exactly how great this will be for our future with this manufacturing tax credit, and they showed it by enacting this important legislation. This credit will attract the ethane cracker plants, which are a key ingredient in creating thousands and thousands of new jobs in our already booming energy section. Companies that establish refining facilities here in Pennsylvania and who use our state's abundant supply of natural gas and then sell that processed chemical to other Pennsylvania manufacturers will receive a tax credit after they bring the jobs to Pennsylvania. In return, they will have to deliver those jobs. My goal, and I hope and I believe the goal of the General Assembly, is to transform Pennsylvania so that we're not only a supplier of natural gas, but also a processor and manufacturer. This credit will work to keep the industry and our resources here in Pennsylvania. It will work to grow jobs in Pennsylvania and to grow our economy. Simply put, we will usher in a new industrial revolution in Pennsylvania. While creating jobs, this new industry will help us recover and also clean up former brownfields as new facilities are built. In the beginning of this month, speaking of jobs, I signed another bill that will save jobs all across our state. With the help from the legislature and input from both labor and management again, we fixed issues that we had with our unemployment compensation system. This reform will allow us to restore solvency to the UC Trust Fund and to repay our debt to the federal government. The changes will save us $276 million each year, while assuring benefits to workers who need them. It also took away a burden on employers that slowed job growth and investment. As I said then, unemployment compensation reform equals jobs. It's that simple. Another new initiative in our work to make Pennsylvania more attractive to business and to get our unemployed workers back to work quickly is the Keystone Works program. And I want to thank the legislature for passing that. This employer-driven job training program will match people who need jobs with high-priority occupations. This program will allow people who are out of work to keep receiving their unemployment benefits while being retrained on the job. We're also proceeding with a phase-out of the capital stock and franchise tax. This tax is a job killer. We don't need it, we don't benefit from it, and we must get rid of it. Another killer tax, as I consider it, is on its way out, signed in today. During my campaign, I continually talked about how the inheritance tax, or death tax, was killing family farms. Pennsylvania's nation-leading farmland preservation program helps to protect farms from development. But the death tax did just the opposite. It made it nearly impossible to keep a family farm in the family. Our farm families deserve the security of knowing that their sons and daughters will be able to follow in their footsteps and eventually hand the farm down to their own children. The future of agriculture, our state's #1 industry, is strengthened by ending the death tax on family farms, and again, I thank the legislature for that. Again, as I said back in February, our revenue has clearly improved, and I am pleased. I can't tell you how much I'm pleased that we are able to restore funding to several areas of the budget, including education. In total, more than $11 billion, 40% of the more than $27 billion in this entire budget goes toward education. As it was last year, education is our #1 spending priority. In fact, this is the highest amount of state money going into basic education in our state's history. The legislature has also passed important expansions of the state's successful Educational Improvement Tax Credit Program, which has helped thousands of kids over the years. This program uses business donations to provide scholarships to students in exchange for a tax credit. Capitalizing on the success of the traditional EITC program, we have also created tonight a new historic scholarship tax credit program. This new initiative will give students from low-income families in failing schools an opportunity to succeed by giving them a choice. We are giving them a chance. We have also improved the state's system of evaluating teacher performance. You might recall that in 2010, I campaigned to improve the teacher evaluation system. I want to thank the legislature for passing teacher evaluation reform. Our best teachers will now receive the affirmation that they have earned, while at the same time, those in need of improvement will have the chance to take the first steps towards excellence. Our education funding also includes higher ed. As we all know, the cost of higher ed continues to grow beyond the reach of many families. Excuse me 1 minute. Following recent discussions with the legislature, our state-related and state system universities, I'm happy to say, as you watched yesterday, I believe, that we've restored funding to those institutions to the same level as last year. In return, these schools have committed to keep tuition as low as possible. I think this marks an important turning point in our efforts to make higher education affordable to our families. Another important role for government is to help preserve our core programs for the neediest Pennsylvanians. We need to make sure that local communities can better provide personalized services for people in need. I believe it's simple. The people living in the local community knows their needs better than we do here in Harrisburg. That's why we're giving them more control to specifically address their needs. These reforms will help service providers focus more on helping people than on dealing with red tape. We are making progress in our state, I believe. And as we go forward, let's keep a few things in mind. We need to continue to follow a course of reform, restraint, and responsibility. We must continue our course of changing the culture of state government from tax and spend to build and save. So again, I want to thank the House and the Senate and their leadership for passing this budget tonight. I want to thank all the advocates who worked so hard on behalf of the issues that were dealt with in this budget and the legislation for their work in the halls of this legislature. Together, we are working to usher in an economic climate where the private sector can grow and create jobs. I want to see that we keep up this momentum. This is a budget for our future and a budget that starts right now as our future does. Thank you all very much. Questions?